Welcome to my channel Valuable Coins, All World. If you've ever wondered if those old coins you have lying around could be worth a fortune, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into some of the rarest US coins, revealing their jaw-dropping values that will leave you amazed. Stick with us till the end. You won't want to miss what these hidden treasures could be worth. Let's get started. Top 1. One such coin is the 1967 Washington Quarter Dollar, a coin that has fascinated collectors and numismatists alike for many years. Today, we're going to dive deep into the story of this particular coin, explore its history, and uncover why it could be worth a small fortune. The Washington Quarter, first issued in 1932, was designed to honor the first president of the United States, George Washington. Over the years, this coin has undergone numerous changes, but the 1967 version is particularly interesting for reasons that may not be immediately obvious. 1967 was a year marked by change in America. The country was deep into the tumult of the 1960s, a decade of social upheaval and significant cultural shifts. While the nation was facing many challenges, one thing remained constant: the coinage that was in circulation. The 1967 Washington Quarter was part of this period, a standard representation of the U.S. Mint's output at the time. It wasn't intended to be a rare or special coin, but for those with a keen eye, there are hidden gems in the most unlikely places. What makes the 1967 Washington Quarter particularly interesting is the condition and, more specifically, the variety of mint errors that can elevate its value. While most 1967 quarters are not worth more than their face value, there are certain factors that can turn this otherwise standard coin into something much more valuable. First, let's talk about the minting process itself. In 1967, the U.S. Mint was producing a large number of coins to meet the demands of the growing economy. However, as with any mass production process, occasional mistakes can happen. Some 1967 Washington quarters were struck with errors, such as off-center strikes, doubled dies, or even unexpected die cracks. These errors, though rare, are what collectors are always on the lookout for. If you find a 1967 Washington Quarter that has one of these errors, it could potentially be worth far more than a typical coin. Even a small error could increase the value by hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But the most significant factor that determines the worth of a 1967 Washington Quarter is its condition. Coins that are in pristine, uncirculated condition, free of scratches, dents, or discoloration are always more valuable. You might be wondering, how much can a 1967 Washington Quarter actually be worth? Well, while most of the 1967 quarters are only worth around $5 to $10 in average condition, a high-quality specimen without any errors could still fetch a decent price, perhaps $50 to $100, depending on the demand. But here's where things get exciting. If you happen to have a 1967 Washington Quarter with a significant error, or if it's in perfect mint condition, it could be worth much more. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. One particular 1967 Washington Quarter, known for its flawless condition and unique minting errors, was recently sold for an incredible sum. This rare find was sold at auction for a staggering $135,000. The reason why this particular coin commanded such an extraordinary price isn't just because it was a 1967 Washington Quarter. It's because it combined rarity, condition, and historical interest, all of which contributed to its exceptional value. When you're dealing with rare coins, even the slightest mistake or imperfection can transform an ordinary item into something highly sought after by collectors, pushing its worth to unimaginable heights. For those interested in coin collecting, this serves as a reminder of how important it is to examine each coin closely. A coin that might seem unremarkable at first glance could end up being worth a significant amount of money. The 1967 Washington Quarter is just one example of how an ordinary coin can hold extraordinary value, and the thrill of discovering such a find is what keeps coin collectors coming back for more. In conclusion, while most 1967 Washington Quarters are not worth a fortune, if you happen to find one with mint errors or in exceptional condition, you could be holding something truly valuable. Coins like these remind us that the world of numismatics is full of surprises, and with a little luck and a lot of knowledge, you might just find a hidden gem. So, keep your eyes open and your collection well curated, because you never know when you might come across a 1967 Washington Quarter worth a staggering amount. like $135,000. Top 2. One such coin that has captured the attention of collectors is the 1971 Washington quarter dollar. Although many may think of the Washington quarter as a standard, everyday coin, this specific year has a story that stands out in the numismatic world. Today, we're going to explore the significance of the 1971 Washington quarter, its history, and the reasons why it might be worth a lot more than you think. The Washington quarter itself, first introduced in 1932, was designed by John Flanagan to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States. Over the years, the design has undergone a few changes, but the most prominent feature, the image of Washington's profile, has remained constant. By the time the 1971 Washington quarter was minted, this coin had become a familiar sight in the pockets and purses of everyday Americans. However, unlike many other years of the Washington quarter, the 1971 version stands out for a number of reasons. One of the first things that make the 1971 quarter special is that it was struck during a time when the U.S. Mint was going through some significant transitions. In 1971, the country was on the brink of several economic changes, and this was reflected in the minting of coins. The 1971 quarters were made in the midst of these transitions, and some of the coins produced during this period are considered rare or unique. While the 1971 Washington quarter is not as old as some of the coins that are typically considered valuable in the world of numismatics, there are several factors that contribute to its rarity. One of the most important factors is the condition of the coin. As with all coins, the condition plays a significant role in its value. A 1971 Washington quarter in excellent condition, one that looks as if it just came off the press, can be worth far more than a coin that shows signs of wear and tear. Another crucial factor in determining the value of the 1971 Washington quarter is whether it has any minting errors. During the production of coins, mistakes can sometimes occur, leading to coins with unique characteristics. For example, some 1971 quarters were struck with doubled dies, off-center strikes, or other variations that make them stand out from the rest. These errors are incredibly rare, but when they are discovered, they can drive the value of the coin through the roof. For most collectors, the 1971 Washington quarter is still relatively affordable, but that doesn't mean there aren't coins that are worth a significant amount of money. When looking at a coin like this, it's important to pay attention to the finer details, the luster of the coin, the sharpness of the design, and whether or not there are any noticeable errors. A 1971 Washington quarter with minimal wear, or better yet, one that has been graded as a high-quality specimen, can be worth hundreds of dollars or more. But there's one particular 1971 Washington quarter that went above and beyond in terms of its rarity and condition. This specific coin, which was graded as being in mint condition with an extremely rare error, recently sold at auction for a jaw-dropping amount. The value of this particular 1971 quarter reached an astonishing $115,000. Why is this coin worth such an incredible sum? It's a combination of factors: its rarity, the error it contains, and its perfect condition. While most 1971 Washington quarters are worth only a few dollars, a coin like this is a true collector's item. The fact that it sold for such a high price shows how valuable even seemingly ordinary coins can become when they have the right combination of characteristics. So, what makes the 1971 Washington quarter a coin worth keeping an eye on? If you're a coin collector or someone who simply enjoys hunting for treasures, it's important to understand that even coins from the 1970s can become highly valuable over time. The 1971 Washington quarter, though it may seem like just another coin from the past, holds the potential to surprise collectors with its hidden worth. To wrap up, while the majority of 1971 Washington quarters may not be worth much more than their face value, there's always a possibility that you might come across one with unique characteristics, whether it's a rare minting error or an exceptional grade. When it comes to coin collecting, you just never know when you might stumble upon a gem. So, keep your eyes peeled and don't underestimate the value of a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, because you could be holding a rare 1971 Washington quarter worth a staggering $115,000. Top 3. One such example is the 1986 Washington quarter dollar. To the casual observer, it might seem like just another coin in the pocket, but this particular coin has an intriguing story and can be worth far more than its face value. In today's video, We're going to dive deep into the history of the 1986 Washington quarter, how its value has evolved over time, and why it's worth paying closer attention to it. First, let's rewind a bit. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932, and for decades, it was a staple of U.S. currency. Featuring George Washington's portrait, this coin was designed by John Flanagan to honor the first president of the United States. The coin has undergone various design changes over the years, but the 1986 Washington quarter is particularly interesting. By the mid-1980s, the U.S. Mint had settled into a rhythm of producing coins that were largely similar to previous years. But that doesn't mean that all of them were just mass-produced pieces of metal. One of the defining moments for the 1986 quarter came with the increased attention to proof and uncirculated coins. Throughout the 1980s, there was a growing interest in numismatics, and collectors started to pay more attention to the condition of coins and the special features they could possess. The 1986 Washington quarter was released as part of the United States Mint's regular coinage series, but there were some factors that set it apart from many other quarters of the time, like mini coins. The value of the 1986 Washington quarter primarily depends on its condition and rarity. In general, most circulated 1986 Washington quarters are worth just a few dollars above face value. However, for serious collectors, the most important factors are the coin's minting process and the possibility of finding something unique about the coin. When it comes to coins like the 1986 Washington quarter, small details can make all the difference. Some 1986 quarters were struck with minor mint errors or features that make them stand out. These errors could range from die cracks, which occur when the minting dies used to strike the coins wear down over time, to off-center strikes or double dies. These imperfections are not only fascinating to look at but can also increase a coin's value exponentially. For collectors, finding a 1986 quarter with one of these errors can turn a relatively common coin into something much more valuable. Another important factor in determining the value of the 1986 Washington quarter is its grade. Coins that have been well preserved, with little wear and tear, are often graded higher. Coins that are in mint condition, sometimes referred to as uncirculated or proof coins, hold much higher value because they retain their original luster and design. This is where the 1986 Washington quarter can really shine. Coins that have been well cared for, perhaps even stored in protective holders or not circulated much, are far more valuable to collectors. A high-quality 1986 Washington quarter can fetch prices much higher than you would expect from an average coin. So, what makes a specific 1986 Washington quarter so valuable? Well, there's one extraordinary example of a 1986 quarter that recently made headlines in the numismatic world. A coin with a rare error, in near-perfect condition, was sold for an incredible price at auction. This particular coin was highly sought after due to its unique characteristics, making it one of the standout examples of its kind. The coin's rarity, combined with the demand from collectors, pushed its price to an astronomical amount. In fact, this specific 1986 Washington quarter was sold for an astounding $95,000. This example shows how, even in relatively recent coinage, there's a potential for finding something valuable. While most 1986 Washington quarters are not worth a fortune, discovering one with a minting error, or in pristine, uncirculated condition, can turn a seemingly ordinary coin into an absolute treasure. It's a reminder that the world of numismatics is not just about old coins, but that coins minted in more recent decades can still hold immense value. For coin collectors and enthusiasts, the 1986 Washington quarter represents a prime example of why it's so important to take the time to examine each coin in your collection. Even if you don't think you've found anything extraordinary at first, a closer look could reveal details that others might overlook. It could be the condition, the design, or even an error that has made your coin stand out. To wrap it up, while the majority of 1986 Washington quarters might not be worth more than a few dollars, it's clear that there are exceptions that can fetch remarkable prices. If you find a 1986 Washington quarter in great condition or with a minting error, it could become a highly valuable piece of your collection. Just like the one that recently sold for $95,000, some coins can turn out to be far more valuable than you ever imagined. So, if you have a 1986 Washington quarter in your possession, it might be time to take a closer look, because you never know when you might be holding a coin worth an impressive $95,000. Top 4. We're going to dive deep into the significance of this quarter, explore how its value has evolved, and reveal just how much this coin could be worth. The Washington Quarter, a staple of American coinage since its debut in 1932, has seen countless variations and design changes over the decades. Initially created to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States, the coin has been a constant in U.S. currency. By the time 1991 rolled around, the design had remained largely the same, with John Flanagan's famous portrait of Washington on the obverse and a simple eagle on the reverse. But the 1991 quarter wasn't just another regular coin. It was minted during a time when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different types of coin production, especially for proof and uncirculated versions, during the 1990s. Interest in coin collecting surged. People were starting to appreciate the artistry and craftsmanship behind coin production, and many began to focus more closely on the condition, rarity, and unique characteristics that could make a coin valuable. The 1991 Washington Quarter was released during this period of increased interest in numismatics, which is why many collectors began to pay more attention to this particular coin. Although the design and minting process for this year were not drastically different from earlier issues, certain factors made the 1991 quarter worth more than you might expect. One of the most important aspects that determine the value of the 1991 Washington Quarter is its condition. Coins that have been well preserved, with minimal wear and no scratches, tend to have a higher value in the collecting world. This is because the condition of the coin directly affects how well the design and details have been preserved. A 1991 Washington Quarter that has been kept in pristine condition is much more valuable than one that has been circulated extensively. For collectors, the appeal of these well-maintained coins lies in their like-new appearance, as it offers a glimpse into what the coin originally looked like when it was first struck. Another factor that can make a 1991 Washington Quarter special is the presence of minting errors. Sometimes, during the production process, mistakes happen, resulting in coins that have slight variations from the norm. These errors can range from something as simple as a die crack to more dramatic errors like double strikes or off-center impressions. Mint errors are incredibly valuable to collectors because they are rare and serve as a reminder that even in the mass production of coins, imperfections can occur. A 1991 Washington Quarter with an error can easily increase its value, and depending on the severity and rarity of the error, it can be worth a lot more than a standard, uncirculated coin. But perhaps the most exciting aspect of the 1991 Washington Quarter is the rarity of high-quality specimens. While most 1991 quarters are relatively easy to come by, a few have surfaced in exceptional condition or with a rare mint error, capturing the attention of collectors and numismatists alike. Coins from this year that have been graded at a high level by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, are far more valuable. These coins, especially if they are graded as Proof 70 or MS 70 mint state, represent the highest possible quality and are highly coveted in the world of coin collecting. So, how much can a 1991 Washington Quarter actually be worth? While most 1991 quarters might only fetch a few dollars above face value, if you manage to find one in perfect condition or with a rare error, it could command a much higher price. For example, a 1991 Washington Quarter in mint condition might be valued anywhere between $20 and $100, depending on the specific characteristics of the coin. But here's where things get even more exciting. One particular 1991 Washington Quarter, with a unique minting error and in almost flawless condition, recently sold at auction for an astonishing amount. This rare coin, with its distinctive characteristics, fetched a staggering some $87,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $87,000. This coin's exceptional rarity, combined with its near-perfect condition and the error it carried, made it a prized possession for serious collectors. This sale is a prime example of how even relatively modern coins can appreciate in value, especially when they possess unique qualities or errors. While most people might not think twice about a 1991 Washington Quarter, it just goes to show that in the world of numismatics, the right coin, in the right condition, can become an incredibly valuable asset. To conclude, while most 1991 Washington Quarters are not worth more than a few dollars, it's clear that there are exceptional examples that can reach extraordinary prices. Whether due to a rare mint error, pristine condition, or just the right combination of factors, a 1991 Washington Quarter could be the hidden gem you've been waiting for. So, if you have a 1991 quarter in your collection or come across one in your spare change, take a moment to examine it closely. You never know, it might be the next coin to fetch an unbelievable $87,000. Top 5. We're going to explore the fascinating story behind this particular coin, why it's worth more than its face value, and how it can become a valuable asset in the hands of the right collector. To start. The Washington quarter has been a symbol of American coinage since its introduction in 1932, designed by John Flanagan to commemorate George Washington, the first president of the United States. Over the years, this iconic coin has been issued in several different versions, but the 1997 Washington quarter stands out as part of the later stages of the traditional design. It's important to note that the 1997 quarter is not part of any commemorative series or significant design change, but this doesn't mean it isn't special. In fact, the value of the 1997 Washington quarter lies in its rarity, condition, and the possibility of finding unique mint errors. One of the first things to consider when determining the value of a coin like the 1997 Washington quarter is its condition. Most quarters that have been in circulation show signs of wear and tear, making them much less valuable than a coin in mint condition. If you happen to come across a 1997 quarter that looks as though it was freshly minted, you're already looking at a coin that could have a higher value. For collectors, the grade or condition of the coin is everything. Coins that are well preserved and free from scratches, discoloration, or damage are worth far more than their counterparts that have been circulated extensively. In addition to its condition, the rarity of a particular coin can drastically impact its value. While most 1997 Washington quarters are relatively easy to find, there are certain factors that could make one coin stand out from the rest. One of the most significant factors is whether the coin has any mint errors. During the minting process, mistakes can happen. These errors could include anything from double strikes, die cracks, or even off-center strikes. Mint errors like these are extremely rare, and when they do occur, they can make the coin highly sought after by collectors. A 1997 Washington quarter with one of these minting errors could easily be worth more than you might expect. Even a small error or unique characteristic can transform an ordinary coin into a highly valuable collector's item. Another key point to understand about the 1997 Washington quarter is that it was produced during a time when the U.S. Mint was striking coins in large numbers. Despite this, not all coins from this period were produced equally. Some coins were struck with more precision, while others may have been affected by slight imperfections during the minting process. As a result, the 1997 Washington quarter provides an interesting mix of common coins and rare, exceptional finds for collectors to pursue. Coins that are in perfect, uncirculated condition or contain minting errors tend to be the ones that catch the eyes of serious collectors. So, how much could a 1997 Washington quarter be worth? For the average collector, a 1997 Washington quarter in circulated condition may only fetch a few dollars above its face value. However, if you find one in mint condition or with a unique error, the value can rise dramatically. In some cases, a 1997 Washington quarter with no wear, perfect details, and no signs of circulation can be worth anywhere from $50 to $200, depending on the market and demand at the time. However, the story doesn't end there. There is one particular 1997 Washington quarter that made headlines in the world of coin collecting. This particular coin, which was in near-perfect condition and contained a rare minting error, sold for an astonishing price at auction. The combination of its exceptional condition, the rarity of the minting error, and the high demand from collectors made this coin incredibly valuable. This particular 1997 Washington quarter was sold for a staggering sum of $67,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $67,000. This incredible sale shows just how valuable even relatively modern coins can be, especially when they have unique characteristics or are in exceptional condition. What may seem like a simple, everyday coin can, in the right circumstances, become a prized collectible. The 1997 Washington quarter serves as a great reminder to coin collectors that the value of a coin is often determined by its rarity, its condition, and the demand from collectors who are willing to pay top dollar for a gem. In conclusion, while most 1997 Washington quarters are worth only a few dollars, there are always exceptions that can make these coins much more valuable. A coin with a rare minting error or one that has been preserved in perfect condition can skyrocket in value. And if you're lucky enough to find one, you could be holding a coin worth thousands of dollars. Just like the one that recently sold for $67,000. The 1997 Washington quarter is a reminder that even modern coins can hold immense value if they possess the right qualities. So, next time you come across a 1997 Washington quarter, Take a moment to examine it closely. You could be holding on to a coin that might just be worth a small fortune.